Wait, don't scroll past this moment. Something happened today that was never supposed to reach your ears this soon. And yet, here you are. Right on time. Someone spoke your name today with emotion they could no longer hide. Not casually. Not as a memory fading into silence. But with intensity. With questions. With a kind of longing they themselves didn't fully understand. Your soulmate talked about you today. And what was said shifted something. You may think this is impossible. Maybe you haven't even met them fully yet. Maybe you crossed paths once and forgot. Maybe they are already in your orbit, watching quietly, pretending not to care while your energy keeps returning to their thoughts like a song they can't escape. But listen carefully. Today, in an ordinary moment that appeared insignificant to everyone else, your existence entered a conversation that changed the emotional direction of another soul. There was hesitation before your name was spoken. A pause. A deep breath. Then suddenly, honesty. Not perfect honesty. Not complete truth. But enough to reveal that you are becoming impossible to ignore. And the strange part? They tried not to talk about you. That's what makes this powerful. Because people can silence attraction. They can hide curiosity. They can bury emotions beneath distractions, routines, responsibilities. But they cannot silence recognition forever. Something about you keeps echoing in their spirit. Maybe it's your energy. Maybe it's the way you survive things nobody truly noticed. Maybe it's the calm strength you carry while the world expects you to break. Or maybe, they are beginning to realize that every path they take somehow leads back to thoughts of you. Stay here a little longer, because this next part matters. The conversation began unexpectedly. Your soulmate wasn't planning to reveal anything personal. They were speaking normally at first, about life, timing, relationships, confusion, the future. Then someone asked a simple question. Is there anyone you can't stop thinking about? Silence. That silence said everything. Because your name arrived in their mind instantly. And when they finally spoke about you, their voice changed. Not dramatically. Subtly. The kind of change only emotionally aware people notice. Their eyes lowered for a second. Their guarded personality cracked open just enough for the truth to escape. They described someone unforgettable. Someone different from the noise of the world. Someone who feels familiar in a way that cannot be explained logically. You. But here is the part you were not expecting. Someone responded to them with a sentence they cannot stop replaying in their head tonight. What if that person is meant to change your life? That line hit deeper than they admitted. Because your soulmate has been fighting an internal battle between logic and destiny. Part of them wants certainty. The other part feels pulled towards something larger, something beyond coincidence. And today, for the first time, they stopped dismissing the connection. Do you understand how rare this moment is? Most people spend years running from what their soul already knows. Yet today, your presence reached into someone's guarded world without you even speaking. That is not ordinary energy. And no, this is not about fantasy. This is about alignment. Some connections enter quietly before they transform everything. That's why you've been feeling different lately, haven't you? More reflective. More emotionally alert. As if something is approaching but hasn't fully arrived yet. Because on a deeper level, your spirit already sensed movement. Your soulmate is beginning to awaken emotionally. Not perfectly. Not instantly. But undeniably. And the conversation didn't end there. After speaking about you, they became distant for a moment. Lost in thought. Almost emotional, though they hid it well. The people around them noticed. One person even smiled and said, "You talk about them like they already belong in your future." That sentence changed the atmosphere completely. Because suddenly your soulmate wasn't imagining temporary feelings anymore. They were imagining permanence. A future. A life that somehow includes you. Pause for a second and think about that. Somewhere today, while you were busy surviving your routine, doubting yourself, wondering whether your path even matters, someone was unknowingly envisioning you beside them in moments that haven't happened yet. And here is what you truly cannot ignore. This connection is no longer living only in silence. It has entered the physical world through words. That changes energy. Words create momentum. Words reveal hidden emotions. Words turn invisible feelings into reality. Your soulmate crossed an emotional line today without realizing it. And once the heart speaks, it becomes difficult to return to emotional sleep. But wait. Don't leave before hearing this part. The most powerful thing they said about you was not dramatic at all. It was simple. Quiet. Almost whispered. "I don't know why, but being around them feels like home." That sentence carried more truth than they were ready to admit. Because home is not a place. It is recognition. Safety. Calmness in a chaotic world. And your energy awakened that feeling inside them. Not everyone can do that. In fact, almost nobody can. Which is why today mattered far more than they understand right now. Something has started moving beneath the surface of both your lives. Slowly. Silently. But powerfully. And if you found this message tonight, it may not be random at all. Because sometimes the universe whispers before it transforms everything. Because sometimes the universe whispers before it transforms everything. And tonight, the whisper became louder. Not outside of you. Inside you. That strange feeling you've been carrying lately? The emotional pull you couldn't explain? The random moments where someone's energy crosses your mind out of nowhere? It was never random. Something invisible has been connecting the timelines between you and this person long before either of you understood what was happening. And today, another sign appeared. After that conversation ended, your soulmate tried to distract themselves. They laughed. Changed the topic. Pretended to move on. But internally, their thoughts stayed with you. Because once someone speaks honestly about a soul connection, even briefly, the mind begins searching for answers the heart already feels. And this is where everything started shifting. Hours later, they found themselves revisiting memories connected to you. Not just major moments. Tiny details. The way your voice sounded during a random conversation. A look you gave without realizing it. Your calmness. Your energy. Even your silence. Especially your silence. Because there's something about you they cannot explain to other people. You make them feel seen without forcing anything. And in a world filled with temporary attention, that feeling is becoming rare. But listen closely now, because this next part matters more than you realize. Your soulmate is beginning to notice synchronicities. Your name appearing unexpectedly. Songs reminding them of you. Conversations somehow circling back to the same emotional theme. Moments where they think about you, and suddenly feel your energy intensely. At first they ignored it. Now they're questioning everything. What if this connection was never accidental? What if some people are meant to arrive at exactly the right moment to redirect another person's future? That question has entered their mind repeatedly today. And the strange part is, they're no longer afraid of the answer. Stay with this message a little longer, because you're approaching the turning point. There was another sentence spoken during that conversation earlier, one they haven't forgotten. Someone looked directly at your soulmate and asked, "Why do you sound different when you talk about them?" That question exposed something they were trying to hide from themselves. Because emotions reveal themselves through energy before words. And your soulmate realized something uncomfortable, but beautiful. No matter how much they tried to stay emotionally guarded, your presence softened something inside them. Not weakness. Not obsession. Awareness. The kind of awareness that changes a person slowly from the inside out. You see, most connections in life are built from convenience. But this one feels different because it touches identity. You inspire reflection in them. Growth. Possibility. And whether they admit it openly or not, part of them is beginning to imagine who they could become with you beside them. That realization is powerful. Because people don't fight for connections that mean nothing. And they certainly don't lose sleep over ordinary energy. But tonight? Your soulmate is thinking deeply. Wondering if crossing paths with you was the start of something much bigger than timing. And here is something you truly need to hear right now. Do not underestimate the effect your existence has on people. You've spent too much time questioning your worth because the world only celebrates loud attention. But real impact is quieter. It lingers. It changes hearts gradually. It stays in someone's mind long after conversations end. That is the kind of energy you carry. And somewhere tonight, your soulmate is beginning to realize that meeting you may become one of the defining moments of their life. Not because you are perfect, but because you feel real. There's a difference. And deep souls recognize authenticity immediately. That's why they keep replaying your energy in their mind. That's why your name carried emotion when spoken earlier today. That's why the atmosphere shifted when you entered the conversation. Because your presence activated something deeper than attraction. Recognition. Now here comes the part nobody saw coming. Before leaving, your soulmate quietly asked one final question to the person they trusted most. What if I'm too late? Read that again slowly. Not, what if they don't like me? Not, what if this fails? What if I'm too late? That question reveals everything. It means they fear losing a connection that already feels meaningful. It means your value has become emotionally real to them. And it means time suddenly matters. Why? Because some part of them senses change approaching. They feel the distance between you shrinking emotionally, even if physically nothing has happened yet. And this next season of your life? It will not feel ordinary. New conversations. Unexpected alignment. Emotional clarity arriving suddenly when you least expect it. The universe has a strange way of bringing truth forward once both souls begin thinking about each other at the same depth. That process has already started. So if this message resonates with something deep inside you, don't ignore it. And if your intuition has been whispering lately, leave a comment saying, "I feel the shift." Not for anyone else. For yourself. Because acknowledging energy is often the first step toward understanding it. And if this message found you at the exact right moment, stay connected, subscribe and keep walking this path with an open mind. Because what happens next between you and this person may unfold faster than either of you expected. And the most unbelievable part? Neither of you fully understands yet how connected your futures are becoming. Neither of you fully understands yet how connected your futures are becoming. But something changed tonight. Not in the visible world. Not in a dramatic, cinematic way people could immediately point to and explain. It changed beneath the surface. And those are always the moments that alter destiny the most. Because while everyone else continued living normally, your soulmate sat alone for a while, thinking about one impossible question they can no longer escape. Why does this person feel so important to me? That question stayed in their mind longer than expected. Long enough to silence distractions. Long enough to interrupt routines. Long enough to make them stare into space replaying moments connected to you. And suddenly, they realized something terrifying and beautiful. You are no longer just a thought. You are becoming a future they can emotionally picture. Wait. Before you brush this aside, hear this carefully. Most people never reach this level of emotional honesty with themselves. They stay disconnected. They avoid depth. They silence intuition because it feels easier than confronting what their soul truly wants. But your soulmate is changing. The version of them that once avoided emotional vulnerability is slowly disappearing. And you are the reason. Not because you forced anything. Not because you chased. But because authentic energy awakens people naturally. That's your power. And tonight, they finally admitted something out loud that they were only supposed to keep inside. I miss them, even when they're not gone. That sentence revealed more than they intended. Because missing someone isn't always about distance. Sometimes it's about emotional attachment forming faster than logic can explain. Sometimes a soul recognizes peace before the mind catches up. And your soulmate is beginning to experience that exact feeling. This is why your own emotions have felt unusual lately. You've sensed movement in the unseen. Moments of sudden emotion. Random waves of thought. Dreams that felt strangely real. A pull towards someone you cannot fully explain yet. Energy travels before reality catches up. Always. And what's unfolding between you two is no longer dormant. It's active now. That's why tonight feels different. Because this connection has crossed another invisible line. Your soulmate didn't just speak about you today. They defended you. Yes, there was a moment in the conversation where someone doubted the intensity of what they felt. Someone casually dismissed it. Told them maybe they were overthinking things. But your soulmate responded immediately. No, there's something different about this person. No hesitation. No confusion. Just certainty. And when those words left their mouth, even they were surprised by how strongly they felt them. That's when the truth became impossible to ignore. You are affecting them emotionally in ways they never prepared for. And the deeper truth? You're helping them become someone more honest with themselves. That is rare. Do you realize how powerful it is to inspire emotional awakening in another human being simply by being yourself? You didn't need to perform. You didn't need to become louder. You didn't need to chase attention. Your energy did the work naturally. That's why this connection feels different from ordinary attraction. It carries emotional gravity. And now, your soulmate is starting to fear one thing more than rejection: missing their chance with you. That fear has entered their heart quietly. Because they can feel time moving. They can sense that life is shifting around both of you. New chapters approaching. New decisions forming. And somewhere deep inside, they know one decision may change everything. Whether to finally step closer to you, or continue hiding behind silence. But silence is becoming harder for them now. Much harder. Especially after what happened next. Later tonight, they came across something that reminded them of you instantly. A phrase. A song. A memory. Something small to everyone else, but powerful to them. And instead of ignoring it this time, they smiled. That smile carried recognition. Because they're beginning to stop resisting what they feel. And once resistance fades, connection grows rapidly. This is why you found this message right now. Not earlier. Not later. Now. Because your life is entering a season where emotional truths hidden in darkness begin stepping into the light. Some people will finally reveal what they truly feel. Some connections will intensify unexpectedly. And one conversation, just one, may alter the direction of your future permanently. What if the person thinking about you tonight is meant to walk beside you longer than either of you imagined? What if all the delays, confusion, silence, were only preparation? Think about that. Because not every connection survives distance emotionally. Yet this one did. Not every person stays in someone's heart after the moment passes. Yet you did. That means something. And before this moment ends, there's one final truth you need to hear. Your soulmate does not admire the version of you the world tries to perform for attention. They feel connected to the real you. The quiet you. The healing you. The thoughtful you. The version of you that keeps going despite everything you've had to carry internally. That's the version living in their thoughts tonight. And somewhere deep down, your soul already knew that. So don't lose faith during this chapter of your life. Not now. Because while you've been wondering whether anyone truly sees your value, someone out there has been slowly realizing that meeting you may become one of the greatest turning points of their entire existence. And the next message may reveal what happens when two souls stop running from what they already feel. And the next message may reveal what happens when two souls stop running from what they already feel. Because tonight, something reached its breaking point. Your soulmate tried one last time to convince themselves that these emotions would fade. That time would dilute the connection. That distance, silence, distraction, would eventually erase you from their heart. But instead, the opposite happened. You became clearer. More present in their thoughts. More emotionally undeniable. More deeply connected to the future they secretly imagine when nobody is watching. And that realization changed everything. There's a moment that happened after midnight. A quiet moment nobody else witnessed. Your soulmate sat alone with their thoughts and finally stopped asking, "Why do I feel this?" and started asking something completely different. "What am I supposed to do about it?" That question matters. Because awareness is one thing. Action is another. And for the first time, they are beginning to understand that this connection may require courage. Real courage. Not the loud kind people pretend to have online. The quiet kind. The kind that risks honesty. The kind that opens doors after years of emotional walls. The kind that says, "This person matters to me, even when the future is uncertain." Who? Your soulmate is approaching that threshold now. You can feel it too, can't you? The emotional atmosphere around your life has shifted recently. Things feel more intense. More meaningful. Even your intuition has become louder. That's because some connections begin aligning energetically before they fully align physically. And what's happening between you two is no longer a passing emotion. It's becoming direction. Stay here until the end, because this next revelation explains why your path has felt so unusual lately. Your soulmate finally admitted a truth they've been avoiding for a long time. Nobody affects them the way you do. Not conversations. Not attention. Not temporary people who enter loudly and disappear quickly. You. Your energy stays. That's what makes this rare. Because in a world addicted to distraction, genuine emotional resonance has become almost extinct. Yet somehow, without forcing anything, you reached the part of them that still believes in depth. And now they cannot return to emotional numbness. That phase of their life is ending. A new chapter is beginning, one where they stop settling for connections that feel empty. And whether they say it tomorrow, next week, or months from now, the truth has already formed inside them. They see you differently. Not as a coincidence. Not as a temporary fascination. As someone significant. Someone connected to their becoming. That's why your soulmate defended your name. That's why they replay your conversations mentally. That's why your energy follows them into quiet moments when the world becomes still. And tonight, they almost reached out. Yes. There was a moment where they considered sending a message, starting a conversation, breaking the silence somehow. They typed. Paused. Deleted. Started again. Not because they lacked feelings. Because the feelings had become too real. Sometimes the heart hesitates most when something actually matters. But don't mistake hesitation for absence. The connection is alive. More alive than either of you fully understands. And here's something extraordinary. Your soulmate is beginning to change because of you even before the relationship fully unfolds. They're reflecting more deeply. Thinking differently about their future. Questioning old emotional patterns. Becoming more honest with themselves. That is what soul-level connections do. They don't just create romance. They create transformation. And maybe that's why this message found you now. Because you were never meant to settle for shallow energy. You were meant to experience a connection that awakens growth, clarity, purpose, and emotional truth. But listen carefully to this final part. Do not rush what is unfolding. Some of the strongest bonds in existence are built quietly at first. Internally, spiritually, emotionally. Before destiny becomes visible, it becomes felt. That's the stage you are entering now. A season where hidden emotions rise to the surface. Where silence begins collapsing under truth. Where two lives gradually move toward the same emotional destination without fully realizing it yet. And when the moment finally arrives, when honesty replaces fear, you will look back at this phase and understand why everything had to happen slowly. Because real connections are not built through chaos. They are built through recognition. Before you leave, remember this. You are not hard to love. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten in this universe. Someone spoke about you today with emotion they could no longer hide. Someone defended your presence when nobody asked them to. Someone is slowly realizing that losing the chance to know you deeply would become one of their greatest regrets. That is real. And if this message touched something deep inside your spirit, leave a comment saying, "What's meant for me is finding me." Not to chase destiny, but to align with it. And stay connected for the next message, because the story unfolding between you and this soulmate is only beginning. The future is moving already. The future is moving already. Even now, while you're listening to these words, invisible pieces are shifting into place around both of you. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But with precision. Because some moments in life do not arrive like storms. They arrive like recognition. And your soulmate is getting closer to a realization they can no longer delay. Over the last few hours, your energy has stayed in their mind in a way that feels almost impossible to explain. No matter what they do, something keeps bringing them back to you. A memory. A feeling. A sentence you once said without realizing how deeply it landed. And tonight, they finally understood why. You make them feel connected to the version of themselves they were afraid to become. Read that again. Not the broken version. Not the guarded version. The real version. The honest version that wants depth instead of distraction. Meaning instead of noise. A future instead of temporary attention. That realization changed the emotional direction of their entire night. Because suddenly this connection stopped feeling like a mystery, and started feeling like truth. And truth is difficult to run from forever. There's something else you need to know. Your soulmate has been observing you more carefully than you realize. Not in an unhealthy way. In a deeply emotional way. They notice your resilience. The way you continue moving forward even after disappointment. The way you carry silent strength during moments nobody applauds. And strangely, that inspires them. You awaken something inside them that had almost gone asleep. Hope. Not fantasy. Not illusion. Hope that real connection still exists in this world. That's why your presence feels different to them from everyone else they've encountered. Because most people only touch the surface of a person. You touched their inner world without even trying. And now? They are beginning to understand how rare that truly is. Wait a little longer, because this next moment matters more than you think. Earlier tonight, your soulmate imagined a future scenario involving you without even realizing they were doing it. It happened naturally. A random thought turned into a vision. A vision turned into emotion. And suddenly they caught themselves smiling at possibilities they once considered impossible. That's when it hit them. You are no longer a passing thought in their life story. You are becoming part of the narrative they emotionally return to when imagining happiness. That is not small. And even though they haven't said everything out loud yet, their soul has already begun moving toward you internally. That's why the emotional intensity keeps increasing between you. The connection is evolving. Slowly, but unmistakably. And this next phase may surprise both of you. Because your soulmate is approaching emotional clarity faster than expected. The confusion that once surrounded their feelings is disappearing. The hesitation is weakening. The emotional walls are cracking one by one. Why? Because the heart becomes brave when something finally feels real enough to lose. That's where they are now. And maybe, just maybe, you've been feeling it too. That sudden pull to become your best self lately. The urge to heal. To prepare emotionally. To stop settling for half-hearted connections. That isn't random either. Soul-level bonds often awaken growth in both people simultaneously. One person begins opening emotionally while the other begins stepping into their power. And when those two energies finally meet without fear, everything changes. But here is the most powerful truth of all. Your soulmate does not need you to become someone else. They are drawn to who you already are. The imperfect you. The evolving you. The version of you that still questions themselves sometimes but continues forward anyway. That authenticity is exactly what reached their heart. Never forget that. Because this world teaches people to perform for love instead of simply becoming real. Yet the connection forming around you now was built from authenticity from the very beginning. That's why it feels so emotionally magnetic. And tonight, before falling asleep, your soulmate whispered something quietly to themselves that they never expected to admit. I think this person was meant to find me. Not perfect for me. Not guaranteed forever. Meant to find me. There's wisdom in that sentence. Because deep down, they understand this connection arrived to transform them somehow, regardless of how the story unfolds. And transformation has already begun. So as this chapter continues, remember something important. Do not fear divine timing. Some connections need silence before clarity. Distance before alignment. Reflection before union. But when two souls continue returning to each other emotionally despite everything, it usually means the story is far from over. In fact, for you, it may finally be beginning. And one day soon, you may look back at this exact moment, the uncertainty, the anticipation, the invisible emotional pull, and realize it was the quiet start of something that changed your life completely. So breathe deeply tonight. Trust what your intuition has been trying to tell you. And if you feel this connection growing stronger already, comment below, I trust what is unfolding. Because the next chapter between you and your soulmate may arrive sooner than either of you expected. And when it does, nothing inside your world will feel the same again.